Have you ever noticed how sometimes the strongest thing you can do is nothing at all? Not to argue, not to explain, not to rush in with a quick reply, but to pause, to withdraw, to remain silent. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote in his Meditations that our power lies not in controlling what others say or do, but in controlling how we respond. In today's world, we're told to always be available to answer instantly to prove our worth by how quickly we serve others. But here's the truth. The Stoics remind us of constant availability isn't virtue, it's slavery. When you react to every provocation, when you jump at every demand, you become predictable and therefore controllable. People stop respecting your presence and start using it. The real strength, the Stoics would say, is in restraint, in choosing when to act and when not to, in guarding your inner peace as your most valuable possession. Seneca once said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." If you spread yourself too thin, if you are endlessly available, you lose yourself. This isn't about abandoning people, it's about reclaiming your sovereignty. Because when you stop being endlessly available, you stop being a puppet and you start living as a free human being. 1. The Stoic power of withdrawal and silence. The Stoics often taught that true strength is revealed not in noise, but in restraint. Epictetus reminded his students, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Both teachings point to the same truth. When we refuse to be dragged into unnecessary battles, we protect our inner freedom. Withdrawal and silence, then, are not signs of weakness. They are marks of discipline. Imagine being insulted at work. The normal instinct is to defend yourself, to fire back, to prove your worth. But the Stoic asks, does this reaction serve your peace of mind? Will this fight improve your character? Or are you simply surrendering your composure to another person's whim? By pausing, by withholding reaction, you flip the balance of power. The insult loses its grip. The insulter loses control. I once knew a man who practiced this kind of restraint. He worked in a tough corporate environment, surrounded by colleagues who thrived on gossip and drama. At first, he fought back every slight, exhausting himself in the process. But over time, he chose silence. He stopped reacting, stopped feeding the fire. The result was remarkable. His presence became calmer, steadier, and oddly enough, more respected. People no longer saw him as an easy target. They saw him as someone who couldn't be shaken. The Stoics would call this living in accordance with reason rather than impulse. Silence chosen deliberately is not emptiness, it's presence amplified. It allows you to observe rather than react, to think rather than lash out. And in that space, you discover something rare in today's noisy world: clarity. In a culture that rewards constant reaction, instant texts, heated debates, endless noise, the act of stepping back is almost radical. But the Stoics knew that only through restraint can we guard our most precious resource, our tranquility. Withdrawal is not escape, it is strategy. It is the conscious choice to say, you will not have power over my peace. So the next time someone provokes you, remember the Stoic lesson: silence is not weakness. It is strength disguised. It is the refusal to let others write your script. And in that silence, you remain sovereign, untouched, unbroken, and free. 2. The Stoic warning against being always available. From childhood, many of us are taught that being good means always saying yes. We're praised when we're quick to help, quick to respond, quick to sacrifice our own needs to keep others happy. But the Stoics would warn us, this is not virtue, it's dependency disguised as goodness. If you are always available to everyone, you are never truly present for yourself. Seneca once wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." His point was simple: if you give yourself away to every demand, every distraction, every person who tugs at your sleeve, you will end up scattered and hollow. Your energy, your focus, your very self will be drained. And worst of all, people will not respect you for it, they will expect it. What began as kindness turns into a prison. We see this all the time. Think of the coworker who always picks up the slack, who never says no, who answers emails at midnight. At first, people admire their dedication, but soon the admiration fades, replaced by expectation. The moment that person hesitates, they're accused of being selfish or lazy. Why? Because by being endlessly available, they taught others to take them for granted. The Stoics believed that our time and attention are sacred. Epictetus urged his students to guard their choices carefully because every yes to something unworthy is a no to something essential. If you give yourself to every voice calling your name, you will never hear your own. True wisdom lies not in saying yes to everyone, but in knowing when to say no without guilt, without fear. I remember a friend who fell into this trap. She was the reliable one, the friend who was always there to listen, to help, to comfort. But over time, she grew exhausted. Her availability had become her identity. And when she finally set boundaries, when she dared to say no, many people drifted away. It hurt at first, but later she realized those who left had never valued her, only her usefulness. The relationships that remained were the ones worth keeping. The Stoic message is clear. Constant availability is not generosity. It is a slow abandonment of the self. To live well, you must learn to guard your time, to measure your presence, to value your own peace above the endless demands of others. Because when you stop being endlessly available, you don't lose respect, you gain it. You stop being a tool for others and start becoming a person in your own right. 3. The Stoic perspective on mass and self-abandonment. The Stoics spoke often about living in accordance with nature, by which they meant living truthfully, in harmony with who we really are, rather than hiding behind appearances. But human beings are skilled at wearing masks. We play roles to please others, to avoid conflict, to gain approval. We say I'm fine when inside we're breaking. We nod in agreement while our conscience screams no. Each time we do this, we trade a piece of our integrity for a moment of comfort. Epictetus warned, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." What he meant is that the pursuit of truth, the pursuit of living authentically, will often make you look odd or selfish or stubborn in the eyes of others. But the alternative is far worse: to live as a hollow shell, constantly bending, constantly pretending, until you no longer recognize yourself. In modern life, the mask can take many forms. It can be the always cheerful colleague who hides their exhaustion behind a smile. It can be the selfless parent who never admits how overwhelmed they feel. It can be the good friend who listens endlessly but never dares to ask for help in return. These masks keep relationships smooth, but they slowly strangle the soul. The Stoics would say that such a life is slavery, not to an emperor, but to the opinions of others. I once knew someone admired as the reliable one in every circle, work, family, friends. She was praised for her kindness and dependability, but in private she confessed that she felt invisible. Everyone loved her mask, but no one truly saw her. She realized she had abandoned herself all for the sake of approval. The cost was her peace, her health, and her joy. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in his journal, "It is not worth losing your inner freedom for the sake of applause." That is the essence of Stoicism here. The mask may win applause, but it will cost you your freedom. And freedom for the Stoics was the only true wealth. The hard truth is, this people who love only your mask never really loved you. They loved the role you played, the comfort you gave, the image you upheld. But when the mask cracks, their loyalty fades. To keep living behind it is to betray yourself. The Stoic way is to drop the mask, to speak plainly, to live honestly, to risk being misunderstood rather than live misunderstood by yourself. Because self-abandonment is the greatest betrayal of all, and no amount of approval is worth the loss of your soul. 4. The Stoic view on energy and the hidden drain. The Stoics may not have used the modern term psychic energy, but they deeply understood the principle. Our attention, our focus, our emotions, these are our life's fuel. And if we waste them on every insult, every distraction, every meaningless quarrel, we arrive at the end of the day drained with nothing left for what truly matters. Epictetus often warned his students not to hand their peace over to trivial things. When someone provokes you, he said, remember, it is not the person who troubles you, but your judgment about them. In other words, the insult itself has no power, only your reaction does. Each time you lash out, defend yourself, or obsess over what others think, you spend a portion of your inner strength. And once spent, it does not return. Think of how many nights you've lost replaying a conversation consumed by what you should have said. Think of the hours wasted on petty arguments, hours that could have been invested in learning and building in quiet reflection. Marcus Aurelius scolded himself in Meditations for doing the same. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. Why spend your limited energy on nonsense when death could call at any moment? I knew a man who fell into this trap. Brilliant at his job, but constantly worn down. He answered every email, immediately defended himself in every debate, explained himself endlessly. On the outside, he seemed strong, committed, but inside he was exhausted. His energy, the very force that made him valuable, had been poured into cracks that gave him nothing back. The Stoics would call this a failure to guard the ruling center, the hegemonikon, the rational soul that directs our life. If we let it leak away in reaction after reaction soon, we are at the mercy of every passing event, like a ship tossed by waves. But if we learn to conserve our energy, to pause, to measure our responses, then we become steady, calm, immovable. Seneca compared life to a treasury of coins. If you spend recklessly, you'll wake one day to find the purse empty. But if you spend with care, you'll have enough for what matters most. Our energy works the same way. Every reaction is an investment. The only question is, are you investing in growth or are you pouring yourself into emptiness? The Stoic lesson is clear: guard your attention. Protect your inner strength. Do not squander it on petty conflicts or endless explanations, because your energy is the foundation of your freedom, and once it's gone, so is your peace. 5. The Stoic wisdom on projection and hidden manipulation. The Stoics were masters at observing human behavior, and one of their sharpest insights was this: people rarely see the world as it is. They see it through the lens of their own judgments, fears, and desires. Epictetus said, people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of things. In other words, most of what people throw at you is not about you at all. It's a reflection of themselves. This is what modern psychology calls projection. When someone calls you selfish, it may be because they are secretly struggling with their own selfishness. When someone accuses you of arrogance, it often reveals their own insecurity. And if you are always available, always willing, always quick to respond, you become the perfect canvas for these projections. People don't deal with you. They deal with the role they've assigned to you. You become the savior, the comforter, the convenient target. The Stoics would warn against falling into this trap. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, they are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. Their behavior is not a reflection of your worth, but of their ignorance. The danger comes when you accept the role they project onto you, when you allow their expectations to dictate your actions. Then you are no longer living by reason, but as a puppet pulled by strings you didn't tie. I recall a friend who lived this reality. She was always the one people called when they were in crisis. She listened, comforted, advised. But when she herself needed help, those same friends were nowhere to be found. At first, she felt guilty for even noticing. She told herself she had to keep giving, to keep being available. But eventually she realized the truth: they weren't seeing her. They were seeing only the role she played. And in playing that role, she was abandoning herself. The Stoics would call this slavery, not to an emperor, but to the opinions of others. True freedom, they said, comes only when you are governed by reason, not by the demands or manipulations of those around you. If someone uses guilt or pressure to make you act, that is not friendship, that is control. And the only way to break free is to stop reacting, to let the projection fall, to stand firm in silence and refuse to play the part. Seneca put it bluntly, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. When you step out of the roles others project onto you, you will face adversity, criticism, rejection, even anger. But in that very adversity, you prove yourself. You reclaim your sovereignty. The Stoic message here is clear: do not let yourself be defined by the illusions of others. Their judgments belong to them, not to you. Your task is to live according to reason and virtue. And when you stop being their mirror, you begin to reflect your true self. 6. The Stoic power of conscious silence. The modern world is loud. Everyone has an opinion, everyone wants the last word, and everyone feels compelled to respond immediately. But the Stoics saw things differently. They understood that silence, when chosen deliberately, is not weakness, but mastery. Epictetus reminded his students, if you wish to be in control of your soul, practice holding your tongue. In other words, silence is not about absence, it's about discipline. The man who cannot remain quiet is at the mercy of every provocation. The man who chooses silence holds his ground. Think about the power dynamic in arguments. The moment you fire back, you've stepped into the game on someone else's terms. But silence shifts the rules. Silence unsettles. Silence forces the other person to face themselves without the distraction of your reaction. It is a quiet strength, a way of saying, I am not yours to control. I once witnessed a coworker practice this. He was often baited during meetings, mocked, subtly pushed to defend himself. For years, he snapped back, and every meeting turned into a fight. But one day, he simply stayed calm and silent. No argument, no defense. The room grew uncomfortable, and the provocateur lost his grip. In that moment, silence carried more weight than words ever could. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "You always own the option of having no opinion." That is the heart of conscious silence. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to enter every battle. Not every comment deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves your reply. By withholding your words, you conserve your peace, and peace to the Stoics is the highest good. Of course, silence has a cost. Those who thrived on your constant availability may accuse you of being cold, arrogant, or distant. But their discomfort isn't proof that you're wrong. It's proof that they depended on your reactions to maintain control. By withdrawing your voice, you expose their reliance on your compliance. The Stoics saw silence as sovereignty. It is the language of someone who no longer needs to prove anything to anyone. It is the sign of one who has mastered himself. Seneca put it beautifully, "It is better to conquer our grief than to deceive it." And silence is one of the ways we conquer not others but ourselves. So remember, conscious silence is not emptiness. It is presence distilled. It is the refusal to be dragged into chaos, the choice to stand firm in your own reason. And in that silence, you embody the Stoic ideal: calm, unshaken, free. 7. The Stoic truth about solitude and rebirth. When you stop being endlessly available, you will feel it first as loneliness. The calls may slow down, the invitations may fade, and some people will even criticize you for changing. At first, the silence feels heavy, almost like punishment. You may ask yourself, am I being selfish? Am I losing the people who mattered most? The Stoics knew this stage well. They believed that solitude is not a curse, but a training ground for the soul. Seneca wrote, "I never spend a day in idleness. I either read or write or reflect. I am never less alone than when I am by myself." What he meant was that solitude, rather than emptiness, is the richest soil for clarity and strength. In solitude, you are no longer defined by the demands of others. You can finally ask, what do I truly value? What do I truly control? What kind of person do I want to be? These are the questions at the heart of Stoic practice, and they can only be answered when you step back from the noise, when you're willing to walk alone for a while. History offers countless examples of this. Marcus Aurelius, though an emperor surrounded by armies, advisors, and citizens, still turned to his private journal each night in solitude. In those quiet hours, he wrestled with himself, not with the crowd. And those writings became Meditations, a book that still guides us 2,000 years later. His greatness wasn't built in the roar of the Senate, it was forged in the silence of his own heart. I knew a friend who experienced this firsthand. For years, she lived as the dependable one, the person everyone leaned on. When she finally set boundaries, people fell away. At first, she felt abandoned, but slowly she discovered something new in the quiet. She rediscovered her love for painting, for walking in nature, for simply sitting without guilt. The loneliness she feared became the doorway to her rebirth. The Stoics would call this a shift from living for the external to living for the internal. At first, solitude feels like loss, the loss of roles of approval, of constant activity. But over time, it becomes liberation. You begin to see that most of what you thought you needed from others was never essential. What is essential is the alignment of your own mind with reason and virtue. So the next time you feel the sting of being alone, remember, solitude is not the end of your strength, it is the beginning. It is in solitude that the old self falls away and a stronger, truer self takes its place. As the Stoics would say, it is not loneliness at all, it is rebirth. 8. The final Stoic message. When you stop being endlessly available, something profound happens. At first, others may resist. They may call you selfish, distant, or unkind. But their reaction reveals more about them than about you. What they're really saying is, you're no longer playing the role I depended on. And from a Stoic perspective, this is the precise moment when you reclaim your freedom. The Stoics taught that our highest responsibility is not to please others, but to live in accordance with reason and virtue. If you are constantly at the mercy of others' demands, you are not free, you are enslaved by opinion, by guilt, by fear of rejection. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, it is not worth losing your inner freedom for the sake of applause. To live as a Stoic is to guard your peace as carefully as your life itself. The truth is that being always available is not generosity, it's self-abandonment. It erodes your energy clouds, your judgment, and convinces you that love must be earned through endless sacrifice. But real love, real respect is never bought at the price of your soul. It comes only when people value you for who you are, not for the function you serve. I once heard someone say, if you never say no, your yes means nothing. The Stoics would have agreed. When your presence is scattered everywhere, it loses its weight. But when you guard it carefully, when you choose when and where to invest your attention, it becomes rare and therefore priceless. The final Stoic message is clear: silence is not weakness, solitude is not failure, and restraint is not coldness. They are the disciplines of a free person. When you withdraw from the chaos of others' expectations, you are not abandoning them, you are returning to yourself. And in returning to yourself, you discover a deeper strength, a strength no one can take away. So ask yourself, who truly deserves my time, my energy, my presence? And more importantly, am I willing to give these things to myself first? Because the Stoics would remind us that you cannot live for virtue if you are constantly living for others' approval. Freedom is not found in being everything to everyone. Freedom begins the moment you say, I will no longer betray myself. And when that moment comes, you'll find that stepping back doesn't make you less valuable, it makes you unshakable. Conclusion: the Stoic path back to yourself. When we step back and look at these lessons through the eyes of the Stoics, a clear pattern emerges. Much of our restlessness, our exhaustion, even our bitterness comes from one simple habit: abandoning ourselves in the name of pleasing others. We wear masks to be liked. We say yes when we mean no. We rush to answer every demand, and in doing so, we scatter our energy until nothing is left. The Stoics would remind us this is not freedom. It is a quiet form of slavery. Slavery not to an emperor or a master, but to the opinions of the crowd. Marcus Aurelius wrestled with this himself as Emperor of Rome, surrounded by demands from every side. Yet even he wrote in his private journals, it is possible to be unshaken. A man can withdraw into himself whenever he wishes. True freedom for him and for all the Stoics begins not with control over others, but with mastery of the self. Withdrawal then is not abandonment, it is strategy. Silence is not cowardice, it is discipline. Solitude is not failure, it is rebirth. These choices may cost us the approval of some, but what they give us in return is worth infinitely more clarity, peace, and the strength to live in alignment with virtue. Yes, the path is uncomfortable. When you first withdraw, people will resist. When you embrace silence, they will accuse you of being cold. When you choose solitude, you may feel loneliness pressing in. But as Seneca wrote, he who is everywhere is nowhere. To belong everywhere is to belong nowhere at all. To find yourself, you must be willing to step apart. And something remarkable happens in that space. The noise fades, the masks fall away, the constant drain of energy stops. In its place, you discover your true self, calm, resilient, no longer at the mercy of every demand or judgment. That is the Stoic promise, not a life free from hardship or criticism, but a life free from enslavement to them. So as you walk away from these reflections, carry this with you: being always available is not virtue. It is a slow erosion of the soul. To say no with reason, to choose silence with awareness, to embrace solitude with courage, these are acts of strength. These are the foundations of freedom. The question then is not whether others will approve. The question is whether you will dare to live as the Stoics live, calm in storms, steady under fire, and free in a world that constantly tries to claim your attention. Because in the end, freedom is not given, it is claimed. And the moment you stop betraying yourself for the sake of others, you will find that you have been free all along.